Welcome back, Careblazer. In today's video, I want to share with you 3 different ways to find out what stage of dementia your loved one is in. So in last week's video, I talked about 4 important things you want to keep in mind whenever you start to try to figure out what stage of dementia your loved one is in. That video is linked below. And one of the things that I shared in that video was that there are multiple different tools that exist to help you figure out what stage your loved one is in. For purposes of this video, I'm not going to review all the possible different tools that are available, but I am going to share with you 3 of the most popular tools that are available. Those tools are the 3-stage model of dementia, the 7-stage model of dementia, and the functional assessment staging tool. Before I break down each of those tools individually, I just want to invite you, if you haven't already, to click the red subscribe button on your screen. It'll help you not miss any future videos. I post a new one every Sunday, but it also helps other people in the world, other caregivers who might not know this channel exists. Simply by you pressing that subscribe button helps make it more possible that they'll discover this channel. Again, it's completely free for you to do. Let's start with the 3-stage model of dementia. I feel like when it comes to dementia care and dementia information, there's so much that's confusing, it could be overwhelming. So whenever possible, I like to opt for the most simplest ways to describe things. So this is my personal favorite, but don't worry if you don't like it, there's 2 more coming up after it. All right, so in this staging model, the stages are broken down into 3 stages. So there's the early or mild stage, the middle or moderate stage, and then the late or severe stage. In the mild or early stage, this is where the person with dementia might every now and then start to have difficulty finding the words that they're trying to say. They might misplace things every once in a while, maybe forget an appointment every once in a while. But for the most part, the changes that are happening in the early and mild stages are so subtle that they're easily explained away, either by the person who has dementia or by the family members with them. So the person who has dementia might just easily brush it off like, oh, it's a brain fart, or I'm just not having a good day, or I'm just feeling off today, right? And the same for the family members who are observing the changes. They might just think, oh, he's not having a good day today, or all of us forget things from time to time, right? It's so easy in this mild stage, in this early stage, for the dementia diagnosis or the dementia to just go completely unnoticed. We don't, at this stage, quite realize something is happening. So in this stage also, the person with dementia, they might start to have an inkling that something is wrong, but they're still able to cover up or explain away some of their issues, like missing a payment, the bill never came in the mail, or I never got it, or it just slipped my mind, I have a lot on my mind recently. In fact, in this stage, it's usually people from the outside who know that person who can tell something's up. So like a family member who maybe doesn't come around a lot, all of a sudden comes by for a visit and they can see like, oh, something has changed here. There's been some decline. But for the people who are closest to the person with dementia, it goes unnoticed much of the time. In fact, the dementia diagnosis usually doesn't even come until they start to get to the next stage of this model, which is the moderate or the middle stage. So in this moderate or middle stage of dementia, it's no longer possible to explain away some of the changes they're having, some of the changes you're observing. It's now starting to become a concern to everybody around. They're missing lots of payments. They're getting lost in familiar places. They're having more and more trouble keeping a conversation. They're forgetting things that they normally would never forget. They're having trouble cooking meals. They might start to have some difficulty with walking, right? It's like all of a sudden it's apparent to everybody around something has happened here. So we need to get this checked out. This is also the stage where the person starts to become unsafe, or it's questionable about whether that person is safe to live alone. This is where the family members all start talking about, what are we going to do? This person's no longer safe to live alone. How can we up our efforts? It's also the place where they'll start to have some difficulty maybe making it to the toilet on time, getting dressed, getting in, up and down from chairs. So some of the basic functions start to have some difficulty. In the late or severe stage of dementia, this is where the person relies on help to complete the most basic of tasks. They're no longer able to use the bathroom on their own. They're no longer able to walk on their own. They may not be able to eat food or swallow. They might not be able to hold their head upright. The most basic functions shut down. They're not able to talk maybe beyond a few words. The communication abilities have basically shut down. They might be sleeping through the majority of the day. That's what it looks like in the severe late stage. So even though there's no shortage of symptoms, right? Dementia symptoms that we can fit into any of these three spots. The way you can think about it easily in your mind is early and mild really go missing a lot of the time. These are like the little things that happen here and there that we kind of brush under the rug and don't make a big deal out of. Once it gets to the moderate middle stage, all of a sudden people are concerned. We can't ignore this anymore. We want to go take them to the doctor. We want to get things checked out. Something's not right. In the late and severe stage, they need help with even the most basic of functions. That, in a nutshell, is a 3-stage model of dementia. Now, in this next staging model, it's the 7-stage model of dementia. This one caregivers seem to like better because it's more detailed and there's more stages that you get to kind of watch your loved one go through. And I'll just break down each stage briefly here. So in stage 1, this is where there's no impairment and no memory loss. Stage 2, very mild cognitive decline. This is basically normal memory loss with aging. In stage 3, mild cognitive decline. So this is where friends and family might start to notice there's some cognitive problems happening. In stage 4, moderate cognitive decline, this is typically where the disease gets diagnosed. There's poor short-term memory, they're forgetting more personal details, they're having difficulty with simple arithmetic. This is where family members really start to become concerned and a lot of the doctor's appointments start to happen. Stage 5, moderately severe cognitive decline. This is where the person begins to need more help with daily activities like dressing and walking and cooking. There's usually some significant confusion or disorientation, and it's likely they're not going to be able to live alone safely. In stage 6, this is severe cognitive decline. This is where the memory loss is significantly worsened. They're having difficulty maybe remembering family members. There's some big personality changes. And then the final stage, stage 7, this is very severe cognitive decline. Final stage, there's hardly any communication. Lots of physical symptoms are happening here. And then the third tool is something called the FAST, the Functional Assessment Staging Tool. I'll link it directly below so you can pull it up and go through it on your own. But this is basically more numbers for a different staging tool. So remember in last week's video I said, just because somebody says somebody's in stage 3, we don't know what that means truly unless you know what staging model they're using. So this staging model, the FAST, also uses numbers, and I'm going to explain that right now. So in stage 1, there's no difficulty at all. In stage 2, the person might start to forget some location of things. They might start misplacing things. They might start to have some more difficulty if they're working in their workplace. In stage 3, this is where their job functioning really starts to decline to the point where it's evident to coworkers. They might have difficulty traveling to new locations. They may no longer be able to organize themselves or their home or their paperwork as much as they had in the past. In stage 4, this is decreased ability to perform complex tasks. So things like planning dinner for guests, handling their finances. In stage 5, this is where they require assistance in choosing proper clothing to wear for the day, season, or occasion. So for example, here the person might choose to wear the same clothes repeatedly unless they receive direction otherwise. So in stage 6, there's different levels here. 6A is improperly putting on clothes without assistance or prompting. So they might put street clothes on over night clothes, or try to put clothes on over their pajamas, or they might put shoes on the wrong feet, or have difficulty buttoning their clothing. In 6B, this is where they're unable to bathe properly. Maybe they're no longer able to adjust the bathroom water temperature appropriately. In 6C, they're no longer able to handle the mechanics of toileting. So maybe they forget to flush the toilet, they don't know how to wipe properly, they don't know how to properly dispose of the bath tissue. 6D is urinary incontinence, and 6E is fecal incontinence. In stage 7A, there's the ability to speak limited, like approximately half a dozen intelligible different words or even fewer in the course of a day. In 7B, the speech ability is limited to the use of a single intelligible word in an average day. In 7C, the person is no longer able to walk without assistance. In 7D, they can't sit up on their own without help. In 7E, they're no longer able to smile. And in 7F, they're no longer able to hold their head up independently. So in this case, what you would do is you would go down the list. You'd start with 1. 1 is no problem at all. Nobody's having a problem. They're not reporting any problems. So if that's where your loved one's at, you would just stop there and not even go on. If you're like, that's not quite right, I'm noticing some problems, you would go on to number 2. Number 2 says, oh, they misplace objects every now and then. You're like, oh yeah, okay, my loved one does that. So then you'd move on to number 3, which is, okay, they're having some decreased functioning in their job. Maybe some coworkers are complaining. Okay, yep, they have that. Let me move down to number 4, which is like, oh, they're struggling with complex tasks, difficulty paying the bills. And you're like, no, that's not quite right. He's not really struggling with paying the bills yet. He's kind of still managing everything okay. So then you're like, okay, stage 3, that's where he stopped at. So that's how the functional assessment staging tool works. Again, it's linked for free below this description. So Careblazer, I hope this helped you in some way. Like I mentioned in the last week's video and briefly in this video, there's no shortage of different tools to try to figure out what stage your loved one is in. And for the most part, you can find all of these different staging models online for free. The 3-stage model of dementia, the 7-stage model of dementia, the FAST tool, all of these things you can search and look up on your own and try to go through all of the various symptoms and descriptions they provide to figure out where your loved one is in, what stage your loved one is in. But this is why when somebody says, my loved one's in stage 3, it's like, well, what does that mean? Are they using the FAST? Are they using the 7-stage model? Are they saying stage 3 based on the 3-stage model, meaning they're in the severe stage? So a lot of times just simply by saying a number, it doesn't actually have a lot of context unless you know specifically what tool they're using. That's why it's also helpful to make sure if your loved one's doctor is telling you what stage they're in, you understand, okay, what tool are you using to determine the stage? All right, Careblazer, I hope this is helpful to you. If you think it could be helpful to another Careblazer you know, you can share this video with them. The more people it can help, the better. All right, keep up the good work. I'll be back next week with another video. Bye.